Yes guys, what's going on? Happy New Year's and welcome back to the channel. Since it is the start of a new year, I thought that I would kind of get this channel going, giving you some big picture predictions. We'll talk about some threats and some issues currently facing your money, some great opportunities over the year ahead, and of course I'll go over where I'm personally going to be putting my money. So with that out of the way, I hope you're ready. We got a great video. Let's jump in. Now first I should make it clear that this video is for entertainment purposes only. Nothing I say or do in this video should be misconstrued as financial advice. And if you need to speak with a financial professional about your finances, I'll leave a link down below in the description. Now the question on everybody's mind is, where is the economy going in 2023? Personally, I have some ideas. Now inflation is still largely running rampant. At the time of this recording, it stands at over 7%. Yes, the Fed has been raising rates in order to combat this, but realistically speaking, the Federal Reserve rate needs to be much higher before we're going to see a real reduction in inflation. Now, the question then becomes, how high do interest rates need to rise in order to tame inflation? And while I can't say for certain, we can draw some clues from history and see what previous Federal Reserve chairmen have done. Last time that the US was facing inflation this bad, Paul Volcker was in charge of the Federal Reserve, and he needed to raise rates to 20% before he was able to bring inflation back down to quote-unquote stable levels. Now, what is the current federal funds rate, you might be asking? 4.5%, less than a quarter of what Volcker needed to bring back inflation. And personally, I think inflation today is worse for a myriad of reasons, but either way, interest rates are not nearly at the level that they need to be in order to bring inflation back down to manageable level. Now, in addition to the inflation problem we just discussed, the Federal Reserve is also selling off securities from its balance sheet at a remarkably slow pace. According to their own plan, which they published last May, they should have sold off $560 billion in securities by the end of December 2022. Instead, the actual number was about $400 billion, which is 30% less than what they were supposed to have done. Now, to really emphasize how screwed we are and drive this point home, since 2020 alone, the Fed has injected $4 trillion into the American economy. And yes, that's trillion with a T. So, even if Jerome Powell gets his act together and starts selling off securities at the rate that they said they were going to sell off securities, it would take 8 years before we got back down just to pre-pandemic levels. So what exactly does this mean for the stock market? It means we're in for a whole lot more pain. Either the Fed can continue to raise rates and sell off securities from its balance sheet and crush the stock market, or it can stop or potentially even reverse course and save the market, only to doom the entire economy to death via inflation. Neither option is particularly good. But let's talk about the economy since we're on the subject. Both initial and continuing joblessness claims are on the rise. Labor force participation remains well below its January 2020 high, and even if we regain that level, labor force participation has been declining for well over 2 decades. The supply chain is still in shambles. This has only been exacerbated by the conflict in Ukraine. But this leads me into the opportunities in 2023. Since most investments seem to be facing a crash of catastrophic proportions, where exactly do you invest in 2023? Well, stocks are obviously out, unless you're a 1 in a million stock picker, in which case, good for you. Real estate and bonds are out for the same reasons largely, and you can't hold cash or your purchasing power will be eroded by inflation. No, in my opinion, there's only a few assets worth owning moving forward. First, oil, and to a larger extent energy as a sector, but mostly focusing on oil. The US has been dipping into its strategic reserves for months now in an attempt to alleviate gas prices. They are going to need to replenish that on top of market demands for heating, cooking, and fueling. Now, on top of that, we have the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, OPEC refusing to increase production. When you add all this together, it just seems like the perfect storm to send oil to 200 a barrel and maybe even above. Next, crypto. I know, it's speculative, it's risky, it's this, it's that, I've heard it all. And yet despite Bitcoin being down by about 70%, I'm up more than 60% from my initial entry price. Now, I don't really expect 2023 to be a high-flying year for crypto, but it will be a great opportunity to stack your bags because 2024 is gonna knock your socks off. Now, I'll be putting out a separate video detailing my top crypto picks for 2023, but until then, I recommend you start doing your own research if you haven't already. This is my top sector, and I'll be investing most of all my additional money into crypto throughout the course of the year. Lastly, and this one is just a little bit different, private equity. Now, if you own a business or you know how to run a business, I think there's going to be tremendous opportunity in the near future. There have been a ton of businesses that have been propped up over the past decade because of easy credit and a booming economy. But the easy times are over, which means that there's going to be a lot of owners and operators looking to exit their businesses, whether it's by choice or because they're forced to. You can buy these businesses for pennies on the dollar, flip, enhance, streamline, do whatever it is you need to do to make them more efficient and make an absolute killing provided you have the skill set. So that sums up my forecast for 2023. Yes, there are some pretty significant threats facing your wealth right now, but there's also some really great opportunities if you just know where to look. And I know, it can be a little scary, but to quote Nathan Rothschild, the best time to buy is when there's blood in the streets. If there isn't yet blood in the streets, there will be very, very soon. Thank you guys so much for watching. I wish you all the best throughout the course of this year. I hope you make more money than you ever made in your entire life. I love you all. You guys are the best. Peace out.